All right, you magnificent bastards, welcome back to another deep dive. You know those rides that make you feel like a goddamn king? Even if you're just heading out to grab some beer.
Or headed to bang your mistress.
Well, today we're diving headfirst into the car category that's sexier than a goddamn strip club.
Personal luxury cars.
Yeah, you heard that right, personal luxury cars.
Yeah.
Now, I'm no car expert.
But I am.
So for those of you out there who are thinking, what the fuck is that?
You wouldn't be the only ones.
Imagine a muscle car.
Mm-hmm.
Ditch the gym.
Got a taste for the finer things in life.
Yeah, like scotch and
Yeah.
maybe those tailored Italian suits.
That's a pretty good analogy.
That's your personal luxury car,
Sporty looks.
but built for comfort,
And for turning heads.
not for burning rubber.
Right.
Think Ford Thunderbird, Cadillac Eldorado names
Yeah.
that just drip with swagger.
They really do.
Okay, so these cars were the shit back in the day, but then they vanished.
Oof.
What the hell happened? Did Detroit suddenly decide that style and comfort were for pussies?
It's a wild story.
Tell me you've got a good one.
And to understand it, we need to rewind back to the post-World War II era.
Way back.
America's booming, everyone's feeling flush,
Hash money, baby.
and there's this hunger for something new.
Something that screams, I made it.
Precisely.
So personal luxury cars were like the automotive equivalent of finally getting laid after years in a goddamn monastery.
Something like that. Early models were definitely aimed at a niche market.
The fancy lands.
We're talking limited production, handcrafted details,
Ew,
and price tags that would make your balls shrivel.
ouch.
Yeah.
All right, enough teasing. Give us the goods. What kind of rides are we talking about here?
Well, you had the Cadillac Eldorado,
Yeah.
almost entirely hand-built,
Right.
the Buick Roadmaster Skylark,
Okay.
and the Oldsmobile 98 Fiesta. Now, here's the kicker. They marketed these behemoths as sports cars. Hilarious, right? They were about as sporty as a fat cat napping on a velvet cushion.
Hold the phone. They called those luxury barges sports cars.
Ugh.
What a load of bullshit. Were they just trying to pull a fast one on unsuspecting buyers?
I wouldn't call it deception. It was more like clever marketing. I mean, they tapped into that post-war desire for something exciting.
Flashy.
Something different from the sea of boring sedans everyone was used to.
And then came the 1955 Ford Thunderbird.
The one that really blew the doors off this whole personal luxury thing.
Bingo. The Thunderbird was a game changer. Marketed as a personal car, it nailed that sweet spot between sporty looks.
And luxurious features.
It even outsold the Chevrolet Corvette.
Which was way sportier.
People clearly loved the idea of a car that looked fast, but felt like a rolling man cave.
We did.
So the T-Bird was like the cool kid who could hang with the jocks, but also knew how to charm the pants off the prom queen.
That's a great way to put it. And in 58, Ford doubled down on the comfort.
I like where they're going with this.
They redesigned the Thunderbird, adding a back seat and more luxury. It cemented the formula. Sporty aesthetics, plush interiors, and enough room for the family.
Or maybe a few mistresses, depending on your lifestyle.
Exactly.
Now we're talking. So the 50s laid the groundwork, but when did this whole personal luxury thing really explode? When did it go from niche to mainstream ass-kicking?
The 1960s, baby. Gas was cheap.
No emission standards to worry about.
The economy was roaring, and Americans were buying cars like they were going out of style.
Like hotcakes.
It was the golden age for personal luxury.
Sounds like a goddamn party. What kind of rides were stealing the show in the 60s?
Oh, we had some beauties. The 1963 Buick Riviera with its dramatic Coke bottle styling.
Yeah, I've seen those.
The AMC Marlin with its fastback roofline that made it look like something out of a goddamn sci-fi movie.
Like a spaceship.
And then there was the Dodge Charger,
Yeah.
which, let's be real, pissed off a lot of muscle car fans because it wasn't quite as hardcore.
So it's all about the looks, the feel.
Not necessarily about actually winning races.
These cars were about projecting an image of success,
Yeah.
of having made it. It was aspirational, you know?
Totally.
Driving one meant you were a player in the game of life.
Right.
Image is everything, baby. So by the late 60s, these personal luxury cars had carved out their own territory, a world away from those muscle-bound brutes and boring family sedans.
They were in a league of their own. But as with all good things,
Shit was about to hit the fan.
the party couldn't last forever. The 1970s came along with a big, fat hangover.
What, like too much tequila?
Worse, in the form of the oil crisis.
Oh, right.
Rising insurance costs and all that environmental bullshit. Suddenly, those big, gas-guzzling land yachts.
Those big, beautiful boats.
Yeah, they weren't looking so sexy anymore.
So the good times were over, and everyone was running for a goddamn lifeboat. What did those car manufacturers do? Did they just roll over and die?
They tried to adapt, but it was like watching a prizefighter trying to dance ballet. Personal luxury cars in the 70s got bigger and plusher, almost like they were trying to compensate for something.
Overcompensate?
Yeah.
For what?
Who knows? But they were basically oversized plush couches on wheels, floating along the highway like a bunch of beached whales.
Sounds kind of comfy, though. Like cruising in your living room?
Sure, but they were slow as hell.
No fun.
And while Detroit was busy stuffing their cars with velour and fake wood, those sneaky-ass foreign automakers saw their chance.
Like vultures.
Companies like Mercedes-Benz swooped in with models like the 450 SL,
I've heard of that one.
offering a more refined
European.
luxury.
Those crafty bastards. It's like they snuck in the back door while everyone was passed out drunk and stole a whole goddamn party.
It was a brilliant move. The 450 SL was a hit. It has sleek styling,
Like a European sports car.
a powerful engine, and a reputation for quality that Detroit could only dream of at the time.
So were American car makers just sitting on their asses, watching their market share go up in smoke?
They tried to fight back. They downsized their cars, tried to make them more fuel efficient,
You know, save some gas.
and even attempted to improve quality.
So did it work?
Nope. The damage was done. They'd lost their edge.
Oof. It's like trying to put a Band-Aid on a goddamn severed limb. Speaking of severed limbs, what happened to those iconic personal luxury models from the 60s? Did any of them survive the carnage of the 70s?
Some limped along,
Barely.
but they were shadows of their former selves. The Ford Thunderbird, for example, got hit hard.
Poor T-Bird.
They tried to update it,
Make it more modern.
but it just ended up looking like a confused mess.
So the Thunderbird went from being a sleek, sexy beast to a middle-aged dude with a comb-over. Sad. What about the Cadillac Eldorado, the Buick Riviera, and the Oldsmobile Tornado? Did those big boys manage to weather the storm?
They got downsized, and I'm not talking about a little nip and tuck.
Have a full-on liposuction?
They were chopped down like goddamn bonsai trees. The Eldorado, which used to be a goddamn land yacht, was suddenly the size of a compact car.
What the fuck? Shrinking the Eldorado is like neutering a goddamn lion. It just ain't right. What were they thinking?
They were desperate, man. The market was demanding smaller, more fuel-efficient cars, and they had to adapt or die.
Survival of the fittest.
But even with the downsizing, those cars couldn't escape the changing tastes of the American public.
People just weren't that into them anymore, so the 70s were a bloodbath for American personal luxury cars. But surely things got better in the 80s, right? Wasn't that the decade of excess? Cocaine, shoulder pads, and all that good stuff?
Not for personal luxury cars. The 80s were like the awkward teenage years of the American auto industry.
No.
They were trying to figure out who they were, but they just ended up looking lost and confused.
So personal luxury cars were like those kids in high school who peaked in junior high and spent the rest of their time trying to recapture their former glory.
Exactly. They were still around, but their star power was fading. They were losing ground to more practical and fuel-efficient cars.
The sensible shoes of the car world.
Okay, so the 80s weren't exactly a triumphant return for our beloved personal luxury cars. What happened in the 90s? Did they finally stage a comeback, or was it just a slow, agonizing death spiral?
Tell me it gets better.
The 90s were the beginning of the end, my friend.
Oh, no, really?
The rise of SUVs.
Ah, those soccer mom-mobiles.
And the growing popularity of those practical-as-hell four-door sedans were the final nails in the coffin.
So it was like the jocks and cheerleaders finally got replaced by the nerds and the soccer moms. Damn, that's a rough way to go out.
It was a slow and painful demise.
Like watching a beautiful sunset.
Except, not really.
You're killing me here.
The Oldsmobile Tornado got axed in 92.
Gone.
The Ford Thunderbird and Mercury Cougar followed in 97.
2 more bikes and discs.
And even the Lincoln Mark series, which had been a symbol of luxury for decades, bit the dust in 98.
A goddamn massacre. It sounds like the personal luxury car scene was turned into a ghost town.
But wait, didn't you say that the Chevrolet Monte Carlo was the last man standing? Surely it had one last hurrah before riding off into the sunset.
They tried to resurrect the Monte Carlo in 95.
Okay.
But it was a pale imitation of his former self. Like they dug up the corpse of a once great car and tried to Frankenstein it back to life.
The zombie Monte Carlo, that's just fucked up. When did this sad saga finally come to an end? When did the Monte Carlo finally give up the ghost?
It limped along until 2007,
Okay.
and then it was curtains. The personal luxury car as we knew it was officially dead.
So what killed them off? Was it just a matter of changing tastes? Did people suddenly decide they hated style and comfort?
It was more complicated than that. The rise of SUVs and the increasing demand for more versatile, fuel-efficient vehicles played a big role, but I think there's also a deeper cultural shift at play.
Let's hear it. What kind of deep philosophical shit are we talking about here? Well, personal luxury cars were all about individuality, about standing out from the crowd.
Like Geekox.
They were a symbol of success and aspiration, but somewhere along the line, that message got lost.
So what you're saying is that personal luxury cars became victims of their own success. They became so mainstream that they lost their edge.
Exactly. And as the world became more globalized and interconnected, individuality started to take a back seat to conformity.
So the personal luxury car was like a rebel who got too popular for his own good and it ended up selling out.
That's one way to look at it. But I think there's also a sense of nostalgia at play. People look back on those classic personal luxury cars and remember a time when things were simpler, when cars were more than just appliances.
Yeah, they were like goddamn rolling works of art.
Hmm.
So are you saying there's hope for a personal luxury car revival? Could those sexy beasts rise from the ashes like a goddamn phoenix?
It's hard to say. The automotive industry is constantly evolving, but there's definitely a growing appreciation for classic cars among younger generations.
So maybe, just maybe, we'll see a new generation of T-Birds and Rivieras cruising down the streets, making heads turn and hearts race.
I wouldn't rule it out. After all, what's old is new again, right? And who knows, maybe those new personal luxury cars will be even better than the originals.
Now you're talking my language. But even if we never see a true personal luxury car revival, those classic models will always hold a special place in our hearts, right? They were more than just cars.
They were a symbol of a bygone era.
A time when America was at the top of its game.
Yeah, when cars were about more than just getting from point A to point B.
They were about style, comfort, and making a goddamn statement.
They really were.
They were about living the goddamn dream. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into the wild world of personal luxury cars. We've laughed, we've cried,
We've reminisced.
we've contemplated the meaning of life.
Why are we here?
But most importantly, we've learned a shit ton about those sexy, stylish, and sometimes downright bizarre machines that once ruled the American road.
It's been a wild ride.
You said it. And before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final thought. If you ever get the chance to drive a classic personal luxury car, don't hesitate. Grab the keys, put the top down, crank up the tunes, and experience the thrill of cruising in a piece of automotive history.
You won't regret it.
Damn right. It's like stepping back in time into a world where style, comfort, and individuality reigned supreme.
It really is something special.
All right, you magnificent bastards. That's it for our deep dive into the world of personal luxury cars. We've laughed, we've cried, we've learned a shit ton. But most importantly, we've paid tribute to those iconic machines that once ruled the American road.
It's been a hell of a ride.
You said it. And to all you car nuts out there, if you ever get the chance to get behind the wheel of a classic personal luxury car, do it. It's an experience you won't soon forget.
Keep the dream alive.
Damn right. And remember, you magnificent bastards, stay curious, stay informed, and above all, stay awesome. Peace out.